Life doesn't always uncover its reality softly. Sometimes it tears the veil away and forces you to confront what's been lurking underneath. That's exactly how it felt on the day I finally realized who my sister-in-law Olivia truly was. On the surface, she appeared flawless. Every strand of her golden hair perfectly arranged, every outfit precisely chosen, every social media post curated like she lived on the glossy pages of a magazine. Anyone who didn't know her would assume she embodied elegance and poise. But beneath that polished glow lived someone completely different. Someone icy, harsh, and disturbingly skilled at pretending I came from a world nothing like hers. My parents were hardworking immigrants who owned a small restaurant in the heart of the city. They taught me to value honesty, compassion, and hard work. They didn't care about flashy things, nor did they pretend to be superior to anyone else. Their lessons shaped me deeply, but they meant nothing to my husband's wealthy family, especially not to Olivia. Lisa Darling. She used to stretch my name like it left a strange aftertaste on her tongue. One day, I simply must teach you proper American etiquette. She had been making little jabs at me since the moment Michael introduced me to his family 3 years earlier. I always brushed her remarks aside. Why wouldn't I? I had Michael's love, a strong career as a pediatric nurse, and a sense of identity she could never shake no matter how hard she pushed. But tonight felt different. Tonight her eyes carried a strange, secretive gleam. She kept leaning toward her mother, Margaret, whispering behind her manicured fingers, both of them glancing at me with that same tight smile that always hinted at trouble. We were gathered for what should have been a joyous reason: Michael's promotion to senior partner at his law firm. His parents had organized a formal dinner at their grand Victorian mansion to celebrate. The table was set with their finest china, crystal glasses sparkling beneath the chandelier. Everyone dressed stiffly because Margaret insisted on it for every family gathering. Tom, Olivia's husband, swirled his wine and asked Michael how it felt to be the youngest senior partner the firm had ever seen. Michael squeezed my hand under the table, his face glowing. "It feels amazing," he said. "But I couldn't have done it without Lisa. She's been my anchor through all the long nights and weekends." Warmth filled my chest until Olivia's sharp laugh sliced through it. "Please," she scoffed. "All Lisa had to do was stay out of the way. It's not like she contributed anything." Michael's voice cooled in a way I rarely heard. "Olivia, that's enough." But of course she wasn't done. Slowly, dramatically, she reached into her designer handbag and pulled out something that made my stomach drop: a bright plastic toddler fork decorated with cartoon characters. "I brought you a little gift, Lisa," she said sweetly, "since you seem to struggle with real utensils." She slid it across the table. Her glossy nails glimmered under the chandelier. "At dinner last week, I noticed the way you held your fork. So ethnic." The entire table went still. Margaret covered her mouth, trying and failing to hide a smile. Her husband stared at his wine. Tom shifted uncomfortably but remained silent like always. Michael snapped. "What is that supposed to mean?" Olivia continued calmly, encouraged by the silence around her. "The way she scoops her food. Sometimes she even uses bread to help. It's just so primitive. I thought this might help." She gestured at the fork. "It has little grips. Perfect for beginners." My hands trembled beneath the table, but years of calming terrified parents and anxious children had trained me well. I lifted the fork delicately, as though it were a fragile artifact. "Thank you, Olivia," I said, my voice steady. "It's very thoughtful of you to worry about my table manners. Almost as thoughtful as those late-night messages you've been sending to Richard." The transformation on her face was instant, panic wiping away every trace of confidence. Richard, the managing partner. Michael's boss. A man Olivia had absolutely no business contacting that way. "Lisa, I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her perfect lipstick trembling. "Oh, don't you?" I said quietly, turning the fork as if studying it. "Funny thing. I brought Michael dinner at the office last week, and happened to see Richard's computer screen. He'd left it open while getting coffee." Michael looked between us, confused. Olivia shot upright. "She's lying. She's trying to embarrass me." But fear burned in her eyes. She knew exactly what I'd seen. Flirty messages. Late-night invitations. Far too much exposed skin in the photos she'd sent. "Should I be more specific?" I asked softly. "Perhaps the messages from last Tuesday, Or maybe the pictures you sent Friday night. Red wine splashed onto the white tablecloth as Olivia's hand shook. Tom's head snapped toward her, his face darkening. You sent photos? He growled. Margaret scrambled to take control. Maybe we should serve dessert, she chirped, half rising. Michael tightened his hold on my hand. No, Mother. We're not moving on until we understand what's going on. The fork suddenly felt heavy, weighted with every insult and slight Olivia had ever thrown at me. I had never wanted to expose her this way, but she chose tonight to humiliate me. She pushed too far. Well, I said, placing the toddler fork back on the table with care, since we're discussing proper behavior, maybe we should talk about what counts as appropriate communication between a married woman and her brother's boss. The grandfather clock ticked loudly, marking each second of Olivia's mask crumbling. A sharp clatter broke the silence as she dropped her fork. Her flawless hands trembled, nearly overturning her wine. I don't know what you think you saw, she choked. Richard and I discussed charity events. That's it. I slowly pulled out my phone. Charity events? I echoed. Is that what you call meeting him at the Riverside Hotel last Friday? Or the messages where you complained that Tom was too boring and not ambitious enough? Tom's face flushed a furious red. What is she talking about, Olivia? Nothing, she snapped, but her brittle voice betrayed her. She's jealous of me. Jealous of our status. This is her pathetic attempt to. I have screenshots, I said calmly, color drained from her face so quickly I thought she might faint. Margaret jumped in, her tone sharp and judgmental. And Lisa, she said coldly, no matter your issues with Olivia, bringing up such allegations at dinner is extremely improper. This is why teaching you proper society manners has been so difficult. Michael's fingers tightened around mine. Mother, he said, anger simmering beneath his words, if you're implying that Lisa's background, of course that's what she's implying, I cut in, strangely calm. It's always been about my background, hasn't it? The way I speak, the way I eat, the way I dress. Nothing I do is ever good enough for you or Olivia. I turned to face my sister-in-law directly. But here's the difference between us, Olivia. I may not have grown up in your world of country clubs and cotillions, but I know exactly who I am. I don't need to chase after other women's husbands or send inappropriate pictures to my brother's boss to feel important. You, Olivia, shrieked as you shot to your feet. You had no right to look at those messages. The entire room went still. In her fury, she had just admitted everything without realizing it. Tom stood up so violently that his chair toppled backward with a loud crash. So it's true. You've been messaging Richard behind my back. Tom, sweetheart, please. Olivia's voice turned shaky with panic. It's not what it looks like. Lisa is twisting everything. Show me, Michael said quietly, turning to me. Show me the screenshots. With trembling hands, I pulled up the photos I'd taken of Richard's computer screen. I hadn't wanted it to come to this, but tonight, Olivia's cruelty had crossed a line I couldn't ignore. I handed my phone to Michael as he scrolled through the messages, his expression tightened without speaking. He passed the phone to Tom, who looked as though he'd just been hit hard in the chest. 6 months, Tom whispered. You've been doing this for 6 months. I can explain, Olivia pleaded, tears spilling and streaking her flawless makeup. Richard doesn't mean anything to me. It was just what? Tom snapped. Just entertainment? Just another step in your social climbing game? Do you have any idea how this could damage my reputation? My business. Margaret jumped in again, desperate to smother the chaos. Perhaps we should all calm down and speak about this privately, she urged. Family matters should be handled within the family. Family? I laughed, unable to help myself. That's rich, especially coming from you, Margaret. For 3 years you've made it clear I was never really part of this family. Just the immigrant girl who somehow trapped your precious son. Well, if you had tried harder to behave properly, Margaret began, but Michael cut her off sharply. Stop it, Mother. Just stop. He rose to his feet, his jaw set with unshakable resolve. I've watched you and Olivia insult and belittle Lisa from the moment I introduced her to you. I've tried to keep the peace, tried to keep this family together, but I'm done. The way you've treated my wife is unforgivable. Olivia, realizing her world was collapsing, made one last vicious attempt to save face. At least I didn't have to seduce my way into this family, she spat at me. We all know the only reason Michael married you was. Her sentence was cut short by the thunderous slam of Tom's hand on the table. Enough, he roared. For once in your life, Olivia, just stop talking. He turned to Michael. I'm sorry. I need to handle this. And, congratulations on your promotion. Then he looked at me. Pain in his eyes, but also something like respect. Thank you for telling me the truth, Lisa. Someone had to. As Tom strode out of the dining room, Olivia trailing behind him in tears, it hit me that the perfect family dinner had turned into something entirely different. The glossy facade they had curated for years had finally split open, exposing the rot beneath, and strangely, I felt lighter than I had in a very long time. 3 months later, everything had changed. The aftermath wasn't pretty, but sometimes destruction is the first step toward rebuilding. Tom filed for divorce within a week of discovering Olivia's messages. The scandal spread quickly, especially after Richard's wife found out and caused a scene at the country club. Margaret desperately tried to fix Olivia's reputation, telling anyone who would listen that Richard had pursued her, and that Olivia was the innocent party. But the screenshots told the real story. You know what's ironic? Michael said one evening as we shared a bottle of wine on our porch swing. If Olivia spent half as much time minding her own life as she did criticizing you, she might have noticed that Richard's wife volunteers at the same hospital where you work. I rested my head on his shoulder, remembering how Sandra, the wife, had approached me a week after everything unraveled. Instead of the confrontation I expected, she hugged me and thanked me for telling the truth. Sometimes the universe handles justice better than we ever could. I murmured, thinking about how Olivia's perfect world had finally caved in. She'd moved out of the mansion she once bragged about and was now living in a stylish but much smaller downtown apartment, still expensive but nowhere near her former lifestyle. Even the family dynamics shifted. Margaret, after years of coldness, surprised us by showing up at our door one Sunday afternoon. Lisa, she said awkwardly, standing in my kitchen and holding her designer purse like a shield. I owe you an apology. The words seemed to hurt coming out, but she continued. The way I treated you, what I said, and what I allowed Olivia to say, it was wrong. I was wrong. I searched her face for the usual signs of manipulation, but found genuine remorse instead. What changed? I asked. Everything, she admitted, settling into a chair. Watching Olivia fall apart, seeing the choices she made. It made me realize I didn't raise her as well as I thought. All the emphasis on appearances, status, society rules, what good did it do? My daughter is divorced and disgraced, while you? She gestured around our warm, inviting kitchen. You built a real, honest life. Without any of the things I thought mattered. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was a start. Since then, Margaret had been making real efforts. She even asked me to teach her how to make my mother's dumplings, though her first attempt looked more like a sculpture gone wrong. At Michael's firm, Richard quietly resigned. Michael worried the scandal would jeopardize his promotion, but instead, the senior partners admired how he handled the situation. Integrity matters more than connections, one of them told him privately, but the biggest change wasn't in them, it was in me. The night I finally confronted Olivia, something shifted inside. The constant urge to prove myself worthy of Michael's family, to fit into their world, it disappeared. Last week we hosted a family dinner of our own. My parents filled our home with the smell of real cooking and loud laughter. Margaret came too, fumbling adorably as she tried to use chopsticks. Even Tom stopped by with his kids, proudly showing me the origami cranes my mom had taught them to fold. Olivia, of course, wasn't there. Last I heard, she'd moved to another city to start over. Sometimes I think about her, and that ridiculous toddler fork she gave me. I still keep it in a drawer, not out of bitterness but as a reminder. Standing up for yourself isn't just about protecting your dignity. Sometimes it's about bringing hidden truth into the light. What are you thinking about? Michael asked, pulling me back to the present as we sat on the porch swing. I smiled at the pink and gold sky. Just thinking about how life has a way of putting people where they belong, I said. And how the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living well. He wrapped an arm around me, kissing my temple. You know what I love most about you? Your grace. Even after everything they put you through, you still gave my mother a chance. Well, I laughed. I did expose your sister's messages first. Let's not pretend I'm a total angel. True, he chuckled. But you did it with style. As we watched nightfall descend over our peaceful neighborhood, I realized something. Sometimes the hardest experiences guide us exactly where we're meant to be. Olivia's cruelty had freed me from the need to belong to her world. The childish fork she tried to shame me with ended up forcing everyone to see who she truly was, and what real dignity looks like, and strangely enough, that turned out to be the best gift she could ever give me.